It might be the more affordable R+1, but this is definitely still a true all-road aristocrat, aesthetically and from a performance point of view. My name's Guy Kestevan. I've been a professional bike and kit tester for nearly 25 years, and today the bike I'm riding in the Yorkshire Dales is Vielo's beautiful R+1 Strato Ekar. So, you've hopefully already seen my review of the R+1 Alto, which is the top spec frame from the R+1 mould. But this Strato is exactly the same shape, exactly the same features list, but with just a slightly heavier composite carbon fibre used in it, which means it's an 1100 gram frame rather than an 880 gram frame. So a little bit gained weight there, but you still got that super broad BB press fit, maximum span chainstays. So as soon as you start making your way uphill, definitely got some proper drive to it. And of course it's single ring only, but this version, riding here, actually using the new Campagnolo Ekar 13 speed. So while Shimano have only just made it to 12, SRAM have been there a while, Campag taking it all the way up to 13 with a 9 to 36 cassette on here. And that gives you a huge range from this single chain set. And also, because the Campag chain set shape, it means you can use their full carbon chain set with their own rings rather than having to use Vielo specific chain rings. So you're getting a full set of Campag all the way through, which includes these excellent disc brakes. And these Campag Ekar brakes really do feel fantastic. I'll be honest, I was a bit nervous when I heard the team up with Magura, because I've not always had the best relationship with Magura brakes off-road. But on the road, power is superb. Control, modulation, all brilliant. Because quite early in the stroke. But while Magura's off-road brakes can be pretty on-off, these have got a really nice squeezed subtlety that just matches the relaxed handling of this R+1 superbly. Because you've got that 71.25 degree head angle, so it's a fair amount slacker than a standard road bike geometry, which is normally nearer 73, or at slack is 72, but they've still kept it quite tight in the seat tube. You've got that wrap around the back end of the bike, you've got that wrap around the back wheel of the bike, but then the seat tube actually is 74.25, so that's quite steep. Keeps the bike really nice and peppy in feel. 400mm chainstays again, really broad placement on them, so you can squeeze in. I mean, Vielo say a 32mm, but the tyres I'm running at the moment are actually a Pirelli 35mm, but they are very, very close on fit. There's not much gravel room under the crown of the fork, but if you want to get the maximum airspace in there, there's a decent amount of room, that's for sure. There we go. Little rise. Let those chainstays do their job. And the wheels aren't as peppy as the zips I had on the Alto, unsurprisingly, because they're alloy DT Swiss ER1600s, but they still feel really smooth, and they're not that heavy either, and a 20mm internal width makes them great for this larger volume tyre choice. And also because they're a relatively low profile rim and they're 32mm deep, nice rounded profile, they just keep the handling even more kind of planted and stable. This bike is a dream on corners. Only thing I would say, and I know I'm going against the flow here, it's my third time on Campagnolo Ekar, and I haven't ridden a mature set yet. I haven't ridden a set that's been bedded in. You know, the old adage, Shimano wears out, Campag wears in, might hold true, but a bit unimpressed by the lever and shifter feel. And obviously both levers are plastic, so, but it even feels plasticky on the inside, if you know what I mean. And it's regularly kind of hanging up and glitching. So it does get the job done in the end, but it's nowhere near as crisp as the Shimano or SRAM opposition. To be fair, I don't think it's even as crisp as Microshift, but aesthetically it's gorgeous. And some folks are always going to have a real soft spot for Campag. And like I say, hopefully, if you get some miles in on it, it's going to smooth out significantly. But the rest of this bike, this is a proper Cadillac cruiser. And obviously those big volume tyres at low pressure help, but despite this long, quite racy position, 90mm stem equivalent in this all-in-one Vielo bar combo, 420mm bar width, makes it really aero efficient in terms of tucked away cables, as well as being cosmetically super neat. And that ties in with the internal cable routing, the aero down tube, the wrap around the rear wheel on the seat tube, and the camtail bespoke seat post. But because it's got that really pronounced shelf at the rear of the bike as well, that means you're getting a lot of cliched vertical compliance, but lateral strength and stiffness. So while it's a firm hand, plenty of feedback and accuracy through the turns, and obviously this is a pretty peachy road surface, but I've ridden it on some rough old back roads as well, and it's equally, I mean, in fact it's more impressive and smooth. Any bike could feel smooth up here, but that's where that R+1 really shines. Oh, come on, there you go, there's a Campag glitch moment. Go up the block to go down it. So suboptimal from that point of view, but the rest of the bike, oh, it's the way it just tips lazily into these turns and then bank it over, knowing it's got that extra kind of self-straightening, stabilizing vibe thanks to that head tube. It's just a really, really easy bike to ride, but you'll still feel in a proper position to pull, and with an incentive to get the power on through that drivetrain stiffness and that unique centre coupled Campag crank that keeps everything super tight underfoot as well. And it's not just all those bottle cages that make it practical and versatile either. If you're on a smaller volume tyre, fit full length mud guards, and it's got concealed mounts for them in the frame and fork. But this is where it really loves. Just out cruising on a summer afternoon. That's proper R+1 country, but it'll definitely go the distance. You got 3 bottle cage mounts as standard, 2 inside the frame, 1 under the belly. So there's plenty of juice opportunities on board. And then the way the ride just forgives vibration and rough road surfaces, just makes it better the longer you ride it. And while the V+1 is obviously the dedicated gravel bike and the Vielo lineup, I'll stick the video review of that up there. That's just had a refresh as well. make it even faster and punchier. That extra tyre volume and just the smoothness of this ride means it's not averse to taking the scruffier scenic route either. And because each bike is built up custom to order, I mean, they do have default build specs. This is a slight version on that. It normally comes with 30mm Schwalbe tyres, but things like nice little details like titanium railed fabric saddle, they're standard. And obviously you can pick, well, this comes with a 90x420mm, you can pick whatever size of cockpit and stem that you want. So go right out to 440, and also you can get the frame itself and build it up. But you know, I know Trevor and Ian at Vielo and their carefully selected dealers love to do a proper costume job for people, and that'll sometimes even extend to custom paint if this grey paint job or the mustard option don't suit your eye. But it is just a beautifully detailed machine in terms of the aesthetics. And if you're not keen on Ekar, they do Shimano GRX versions in Di2 and standard cabled format as well. I mean, obviously it's not just the frame, but the build's heavier than that R+1 Alto I did my climbing challenge on, so it's not quite as peppy and sharp on the pedals. But then again, you've got big old sticky Pirelli rubber on here. It look like MotoGP tyres underneath me, and once you get it rolling, it just creams along the miles beautifully. So you've got those beautiful, slightly tapered, straight-legged semi-aero forks, really neat 12mm axles. You've got that scallop down tube with the recess for the bottle cage, two different bottle boss mounts there, another one on the seat tube. There's your Ekar chain set on that super broad bottom bracket with the other bottle mount under there, and then those lovely symmetrical chainstays through to that really neat rear dropout and that 13-speed Campag cluster. And then you've got Campag Ekar brakes, 160mm at the front, 140mm at the rear. And you can see these 35s are definitely running things a bit tight in terms of front crown clearance, but with a 30 there's loads of space, and they'll easily take a 32 as well. And then you've got Campag Ekar controls up here. I actually really like the hood shape. It's just that kind of cheesy quaver shifter and the plastic downshifter as well. Not quite so keen on aesthetically or functionally, but you can't argue with that one-piece Vielo bar and stem. That's just beautiful, even with external cabling on this compared to the fully internal on the Alto I rode. And then of course you've got that really signature seat stay shelf back there, giving that extra vertical compliance, and then this camtail aero seat post with this fabric titanium railed saddle on top. So in terms of seating and cockpit, well, this is just an absolutely premium experience that totally complements the smoothness of the ride of this bike. And it's just the sheer ride quality of this. It's not the feistiest bike I've ever ridden, but just that luxury, creamy feel. Even though this is the cheaper composite layup, it's still got some kick when you need it up little rises like that, and it sticks like glue to this tarmac. So it's an absolute joy for backroading, for getting your knee down. Proper backroad MotoGP as far as the visibility lets you go. Ah, yes. I mean, affordable is definitely something to be taken with a pinch of salt, Still £5,500 in the standard trim, but oh yes, this feels like a first class experience to me, well, that's for sure. And you've got that pure Vielo individuality, right from the colour palette to that signature shelf, just all the little detailing. Again, there's some little glitches. Had to put quite a lot of anti-slip on the seat post to get it to stay in place with that little armpit clamp. And like I always say, those torque bolts on the stem do worry me in terms of getting enough torque through them, but I'd rather be trying to get torque through those than I would an Allen key head of a similar size. And aesthetically, the results are just stunning, and the way it rides, pretty damn special too. So, however you want to spec it up, there's definitely some compelling reasons to consider going a bit different, going single ring, going with a tiny volume brand like Vielo, with some real passion and engineering and cosmetic bravery behind them, and getting yourself aboard an R+1. I loved having this bike around for a couple of months. It was such a head turner, as well as a very, very smooth and pleasurable pedal turner as well. And considering these are DT Swiss's ER wheels, endurance wheels, they're designed to be sturdy, not sprightly, the way this climbs and the way it picks up speed, it's pretty impressive, especially with these big fat Pirellis on here. But there's just, as well as in the way it rides, there's just this beautiful kind of organic muscularity in the tube shapes when everything's wind tunnel sliced and diced and there's loads of geometric stuff. It's just something wonderfully flowing and organic about pretty much every tiny part of the tube set on this bike. And this bone grey paint job really brings out that kind of skeletal muscular feel as well. And while this is a 936 on this Ekar, single ring gives you the opportunity to put a mullet on the rear with SRAM axis, so you could go as big as 1052 if you wanted, or 1042, 1044 Explorer. You know, there's far more options now with a 1x bike when people were like 3T were first experimenting with them. And it's become a bit more cultured as well, so there's, and particularly on this 13 speed, that means much smaller jumps between the gears, so it's easy to keep steady cadence, as you can see, on a rising climb like this. Primarily a gravel group set, Campagnolo have doubled up on the ceiling on the bottom bracket and really paid attention to the durability of that skeletal looking rear mech. It really is a dramatically distinctive group set in the way it rides and the way it looks. And even with big tyres and alloy wheels, overall weight isn't that different to a Cannondale Super 6 of a similar price, because Ekar is the lightest 1x group set going. And then even with a headwind like now, just took a little bit, you know, because it's got that proper race position, you're not perched up victim to every headwind going. It's got a really purposeful ride feel to it. Oh, classic high-speed distance machine, as well as a proper cafe stopping beauty. You just pull in somewhere, and it's always going to, I've said it before, but it's worth saying again, this is always going to get more attention and comments, pretty much always positive, than any race rep or Colnago or Pinarello, because they're, you know, to a penny somewhere around like Harrogate. you know, just dropping a load of cash ain't enough. You need to do some homework, you need to get something distinctive, something with an aesthetic that looks as delicious as the ride. And that's definitely what Vielo have done here. It really is something pretty special. And I mean that in the sense of it being pretty and special. So, massive thanks to Vielo for the loan of the R+1. Really interesting to get a different perspective on it with the more affordable frame set and the Ekar on it and the alloy wheels. This is a really, I mean, as an entry-level bike, this is pretty damn exotic, but it feels absolutely beautiful as a result, especially if you're looking for just a naturally fast cruising bike. That's where this build really excels, and you want that Campag heritage, and you're prepared to be a little bit patient for it to get going. But massive thanks to Giro Cycling for supporting the channel, to PTs, to Crud, and to my Patreon supporters who pledge on a monthly basis a small amount to help with the development of the channel, and they get exclusive, extended, behind the scenes and ad-free edits as a thank you. So massive thanks to those guys, and if you really like what I'm doing on the channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. But for now, please subscribe, click for notifications, give this a thumbs up and a like if you've enjoyed it, because that helps my YouTube analytics. And yeah, keep watching. Make sure you watch the R+1 Alto review. Make sure you watch the V+1 gravel bike review as well. I've just done the G2 review there. That was a properly blisteringly quick bike, and obviously with bigger tyre clearance and still a super light frame, really versatile as an all-rounder. But even this R+1 is impressively versatile, given that extra tyre clearance and just the sheer smoothness of the ride. But for now, I've been Guy Kesteven on Guy Kest TV, and I've been lucky enough to be riding Vielo's R+1 Campag Ekar build.